we've been hearing, the government wants us to consider putting our nuclear waste under some of the most picturesque parts of the British countryside. But is that really safe? Tom's been investigating.
Nuclear power has been part of our lives for nearly 60 years. It provides almost a fifth of the electricity we use at home and at work. But that creates waste, and it's really starting to pile up. So, what do we do with it?
The government would like us to stick it deep underground, buried thousands of metres deep and sealed for all time. And here, Western Cumbria, just on the edge of the Lake District, is one of the prime candidates.
But would it be safe? Scientists here at Manchester University are doing experiments to find out.
This is a tube of actual uranium dissolved in water, the kind of thing that you might find underground if the protection around the waste failed and the groundwater got to it. You can tell that it's actually radioactive by the reaction of the Geiger counter. We take a sample of it and then it goes into this, which is a mixture of rock particles and water.
This is just the kind of test that will be performed on Cumbrian rocks if the project gets the go-ahead.
And now I'm going to take this to a man who can tell me whether it suggests this kind of rock is the kind of thing that will help keep radiation locked in.
Well, you've got a range of different types of minerals in here, and some of those are known to be very good at taking uranium out of water and holding it up.
So what you want to see is these are the kind of minerals that the uranium could bond to, and
yes,
therefore could be held there rather than flowing out through the rocks from where you don't want it.
Exactly that. So you want to understand that the uranium will stick to these minerals and ideally will also stay stuck to them so that it doesn't come off again and wander on a bit.
And so is the result of my experiment that this looks like well, at least a promising sign?
I'd be quite interested in it, certainly.
These tests are vital because if you've buried all that nuclear waste and then the man-made containment fails, your last hope is the rock around it. So is the geology of West Cumbria up to the job?
Originally this was rivers flowing through a desert about 240 million years ago.
Professor Stuart Haszeldine from Edinburgh University has his doubts.
You can see these cracks go a long way and they go all the way up through the cliff. In fact, in this cliff you can see there's lots and lots of vertical cracks. That's important because those are shortcuts for water going vertically.
How critical or worrying, if you like, could cracks like this be if they choose to bury nuclear waste over there, you know, in Cumbria?
Well, these are really important because we're in a fault zone here, and these cracks don't just stop here, they go down 2 or 3 kilometres, so they go down as far as a waste dump would be. So the water which goes past the dump site can come up carrying the radioactivity with it through cracks like this and get into the drinking water.
Nuclear waste isn't just toxic, it stays hot for thousands of years too. Some scientists believe that will only make things worse.
Radioactive water will come up to the surface within a few hundreds of years, and that'll crack the rock. Before that, lift the ground surface up for a large area around here by about a metre, and radioactive gas will come out from the repository right up to the surface.
The confusing thing is that we already know this, because burying nuclear waste in Cumbria has been looked at before.
In the mid-90s, they mounted a big geological survey of this area, and this was one of the fields where they sank a borehole to investigate what's going on beneath. And what did they discover? That this area was not suitable for the burial of nuclear waste.
Over £400 million was spent drilling holes and doing tests. But if they didn't find the right kind of geology then, what exactly has changed?
Does Cumbria, as far as we know, have the best geology in Britain for the burial of nuclear waste?
We've not done that assessment in that way.
Because a lot of people say that they can see that it has the right politics, because people know about nuclear and they're not that opposed to it, but it doesn't have the right geology. But surely this is a question that should be based on geology, not politics.
It's a question that is dependent on 2 key parameters. One is that you have a willing community. The second one, that you have a geology that you can work with your engineered systems, with your geology, to make a safe disposal system.
So it won't be a case of the politics dominating the geology and saying, just because people accept it, we'll put it there even if we think it's a bit dodgy underground?
Absolutely not.
A Cumbrian nuclear dump is by no means a done deal. Romney Marsh in Kent is being considered as a potential burial site too. But in all cases, the people living there have to get behind it.
Over the next few decades, the debate is likely to rage over impact on the landscape versus jobs and economic growth. But in the long term, and surely that's what matters when you're talking about nuclear waste, the question will be, should it go where it's popular or where it's safe?